I'm going to be vulnerable with you all during this episode. This year was tough. It might be relieving for you to hear this, not because I don't think you want the worst for me, but it might be relieving for you because it might have been a tough year for you as well. In fact, I noticed connecting with clients and friends and family members this past year has been tough. And for me personally, I am still in the process, a moment of reinvention. And I've been wanting to do this podcast episode for a while, but I really wanted to wait until I was on the other side of it, or at least feeling like I'm on the other side of it. And now I finally do, and it feels so good. And the reason and intention why I want to share my story of reinvention and be vulnerable is two reasons. One, I want you to know that you're not alone. And two, so that you can receive actionable steps that are aligned to you. All right, let's drop the beat.
Hey, Legacy Maker. I'm your host and MC, Elaine Lucardis, business and career coach for women of color and allies. And welcome to the Call Your Dreams podcast, where we have conscious conversations to help you create a business or career that is sustainable, abundant, and equitable to the lifestyle you deserve. Because our ancestors sacrificed so much so we could have this life of choice. Now, grab your coffee, tea, and/or boba, and let's call your dreams to create your legacy.
So, what inspired me to do this episode? One, I just finished hosting a 2-day virtual boot camp to get consistent clients with my own clients. And it was fascinating. There was about, I want to say about 8 of us. And there were common themes and discussions that were happening: the shedding, letting go, reinvention, f- redefining what it means to be happy that is beyond success and money, charging your worth, making time for yourself, rituals of self care. So I just want to actually thank my clients for motivating me to record this episode. They didn't know that I was going to do it, but I just noticed, okay, if we are talking about this in a small sample size of 8, I am pretty sure we're not the only ones. And we have it. I just know even with close friends of mine, family members, everyone's having this conversation of reinvention. I mean, we've heard about the great resignation, people starting businesses. I mean, we see it outside. But to just even see it within a personal story, that's why I wanted to do this episode. Just sharing the behind the scenes of what I've done. And I don't want to say overcome it as if reinventing is negative, but just sharing my story of what I've done to stay true to myself. I know that sounds really corny, right? Like getting to that core true self of what we want to do at this very moment. Because I am mindful, being in my 30s, as we get older, priorities and things and what's important to us will shift and change. I mean, my priorities of what I wanted to do in my 20s is different to what it is now. And it's just, I'm enjoying it. I'm actually enjoying getting older. And I also want to do this episode because, as many of you know, Serena Williams evolved out of tennis. And I appreciate her using the word evolve as opposed to retired, right? And I want to shout out to my former client, who is also one of my college friends, Hai Trung, who shared this in a coaching call where all of us are trying to be the best versions of ourselves. And that's what we should strive for, more than just accolades, numbers, check marks of what needs to happen for success and happiness. But the true question of it, are we being the best version of ourselves? So when I was doing that 2-day virtual boot camp, there was two things that were powerful. One, when I was able to ask deep questions for my clients, I was able to see what was aligned for them. And as a coach, it's my responsibility to make sure that my clients are choosing what is aligned to them as opposed to like not secret agenda, but influencing them to do a certain way to do one thing or not. They have to make sure they're completely aligned to that choice. And two, there was such a healing power in being in a diverse community with others, sharing our stories. I'm a business and career coach for women of color and allies. What I get complimented a lot in the work I do, whether it's in person or virtual, is how incredibly diverse my communities are. And it's so healing because we hear these stories of different experiences, yet we all have this shared similar struggles and challenges. And with a pandemic that's happened in the past 2 years, it has felt like all of us as individuals and humans that we are alone in the challenges that we're going through. But the reality is that we are not. We are social human beings. We heal when we connect with the right community. So I'll be sharing vulnerably my reinvention so that you know when you're not alone. And two, I also want you to figure out what is the process and steps that you can do for your own moment of reinvention. And hey, if there are things that don't resonate with you, then you don't have to do exactly what I did. These are just suggestions. This is my lived experience. This is my story. It doesn't have to be the same for yours. So there was two big things of reinvention that happened in this past year. And when I mean past year, all of 2022, I'm recording this September 13th. So we're 9 months in. When I just knew in my business now being in almost 5 years, I didn't want to do all the things. And you can refer to my top downloaded episode, episode number 9, why I'm ending my mastermind, how I'm simplifying my business, and how you can simplify your business too. I share more in that episode of like the tactics and the strategies of why I want to simplify things. Two, I was being mindful and realized there were things I was taught to do as a coach that no longer resonated with me, and realizing I wanted to create more safe spaces for my clients because there were times when I was on their side of it where I was a client myself to other coaches where I didn't feel safe as a woman or a woman of color. I'm just being honest. And maybe actually, there are probably some of you that have felt that way. It's interesting. I have two calls with people this week who shared in my application form where they were being coached by other coaches, but they didn't understand their lived experience, like as a woman of color. And I just want to make sure I am holding that safe space for my clients, even if they have a different lived experience from me. So for me, when it comes to this new reinvention for me, it was actually how to become a better coach. And I will admit it, my first 5 years in business, I was focused on how I could be a better business owner. I'm amazing at strategy. And it was like I was focused on the business and career coach part. Business. So right, my title is business and career coach. So I was so focused on the business and career part, how I could be better at that with my clients, the strategy part. Through my lived experiences, through the investments and trainings that I have done, but I wanted to become better in the coach part. How can I better coach my clients and truly serve them? And before I even got into like, oh, let me go do these different programs, I also had to go deep down. And what I mean by that, I started working with a therapist. Again, I have shared this in other episodes, specifically doing EMDR therapy and getting to the root of what is my true core self. What is my voice? And am I truly, truly honoring my voice and keeping in mind what are other external voices outside, right? Because living in a capitalist society, I'm mindful how easy it is, where we want an easy playbook to get anything we want in our life with our personal goals, right? Where's a playbook to get out of debt? Where's a playbook to lose weight? Where's a playbook to make more money? And here's what I want to share with you. There is not one way. There are different ways. It's kind of like, taking math class where we learn the different ways when we're doing algebra. And yes, I do believe it's important because I have my own coaches and mentors who do give me advice. And what I've had to learn for myself is making sure that even the advice I'm given whether it's coaches, mentors, even family members and loved ones, that it is 100% aligned to my voice. And I am not doing something just because someone told me to do something or just because I paid someone to do that. Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's so easy, right? Where, lame example, go eat broccoli, you're going to lose 5 pounds. I mean, that's not true. Well, I don't know. That's not my expertise, but that is just a simple example. But maybe there's other ways to become more healthier. It doesn't have to be that, but because you spent money to learn that way, you have to do it. And I really appreciate how I've just had to relearn that. So the investments I did myself in my own business is I mentioned this before, like I took AGO's trauma informed certification where I really learned the power of language and listening to my clients. And you can listen to episode 28, the importance of trauma informed spaces with AGA. And now I'm currently working on receiving my coaching certification through the International Coaching Federation through Radiant Coaches Academy. And they focus on helping diverse populations, diverse coaches in learning the basics of coaching, which is really listening to others. And I want to remind you if you are looking for a coach, I'm not saying it has to be me, but any coach, that you are working with someone who is listening to you, who is a thought partner, and respects the aligned choices and decisions you make without judgment. And I have absolutely, it's so nice just relearn the basics of it. It's not just coaching. I mean, I've had to unlearn a lot of things because I am a woman of color, a first generation Filipino immigrant, where we were raised to be caregivers, to be there for others, not be selfish and put ourselves first. And I actually had to shift that, learn that it is okay to be selfish and know that it is better in all the different roles I played, not just business owner, not just coach, but by putting myself first, I can be a better partner, daughter, or son, or friend, or parent, whatever roles you have in your life. And how do we know when we're giving too much of ourselves to others? We start feeling resentful. And pay attention to that. Pay attention to the moment when you start feeling resentful. And that's when it's knowing we need to create these boundaries or do less of things. It was hard this past year. I shared in episode 9 when I did my mastermind and simplified thing. I was giving so much, right? I was doing free monthly events and I realized I don't want to do it all. Now I do 2 retreats in person a year. And even a few episodes back from the episode I'm recording now, I used to do weekly newsletters as well as weekly podcast episodes. And at least until the remainder of this year for 2022, I'm just doing it bi weekly. And it's crazy that I have scaled back from doing all the things to I'm consistently getting sales calls scheduled about 2 or 3 a week. And for those of you that have been in my community for a while, for what, almost 5 years, I remember when I used to post every single day, posting and sharing stories. And my team and I are not doing that. And also letting go and having my team members do other tasks that I don't have to do. And what I realize the hard part of reinvention, evolution is that when we want to change things, it is scary because there is no guarantee of success. It's like we have to completely trust that what we are doing will work out. And working out doesn't necessarily mean it has to be the result that you desire. Does that make sense? It's kind of like when we date, right? When we're younger, dating, and you do try and see if it's going to end up going well or not. But you do take that risk and you're like, okay. And if anything, what we got out of it, it's not just they were not the right person, but it's ooh, what did I learn about myself? What did I get out of it? What can I still continue to heal? And it's the same thing in different aspects in our life. So if you're in a moment of reinvention in your own career or business, it's similar, right? If something didn't go through the way you expected it to go, well, what did I learn? Or at least, hey, I know I don't want to do that. You cross that out of your list. right? So, legacy maker, I just want you to think about it. And what I've learned is that our body, not just in a spiritual sense, but even physically, will tell us when enough is enough. When we want to start taking action. So, set aside time and think about what is your body or intuition telling you that needs to change. And it doesn't have to be drastic. I'm not saying you have to leave your job and quit it. I'm not saying you have to completely change your business model, but it could be the small things. I mean, I'm saying I'm in a moment of reinvention, but I'm not changing my title. I'm still a business and career coach for women of color and allies. But it's these small little steps and changes that I'm doing in my business, you know, not doing events every single month, not doing newsletters and podcasts every single week, even receiving more training to become a better coach, to be better at my strengths and superpowers, because I acknowledge that we are human and we can all become better. What is that for you? And even when I think and reflect for me as a coach, my strength is also giving strategy as a business and career coach. And you could learn the strategy, right? Like even say basketball, for example, because I'm obsessed with The Last Dance. It's a series on Netflix with Michael Jordan, and all the steps it takes to become for Michael Jordan that he had to do to become like the greatest of all time, the best basketball player. You can learn all the strategy when it comes to certain thing, whether it's sport or business. But what's more important is listening and honoring you. As you know, I love ending episodes with a big takeaway and reflection. Be honest with yourself. What are the small changes you need to do to change? And yes, I know I talked about honoring your voice, but it is important to find others to connect with so you can gather more data. And just know, even as loved ones, friends, mentors, coaches that you hire that are giving you advice, remember you get to make that choice and decision of what are the small little changes you want to create. And you will know it will be a 100% hell yeah. And if you want a moment of inspiration, I'm recording this September 13th of 2022. Last month, I had 2 weeks of vacation to Tahoe and Mammoth. And in 4 days, I'm taking off for another 2 week vacation to Scotland and Hawaii. So I've had about 4 weeks of vacation this past year, which is the most. I actually had another fifth one going to New York. And not only am I living a meaningful and purposeful life with the business I do, but I'm creating a sustainable one where I'm like living, where I'm traveling, I'm exploring, and I'm having fun again. That's something I had to relearn as an Asian American, that it's not all about the work, that it's about being present and living. And I want that for you too. Legacy maker, if you're going through a moment of reinvention in your life and you want to make sure you're creating a business, career, and your life that honors your true voice and want to see how it looks like to work together, I would love to invite you to a complimentary 30-minute legacy business and career review call. You go to elainelu.com/call. During this call, we'll identify your personal and professional goals you want to create, review your current pricing and packages, and see what needs to be edited to fit your dream lifestyle. By the end of the 30 minutes, you're going to receive 3 action items. So, to get a 30-minute legacy business and career review call, go to elainelu.com/call.
Legacy Maker, if you love this Call Your Dreams episode, we would love it if you can leave a rating and review on Apple, so more women of color and allies can benefit too. And if you have 1 or 2 friends that would get so much from this particular episode, please share. The intention behind the Call Your Dreams podcast was to contribute and give back to our people. All right. We'll see you next Thursday for our newest Call Your Dreams episode. And don't forget to color your dreams to create your legacy.